If you really want to talk to these audiences and go towards more high-end services or products, you want to have a better experience, a better journey, more demanding, you need to speak their language, the way they speak English.
You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Welcome back to this week's episode. We have a very special guest. We have Ticiano Sgarbi. He is the founder of Sgarbi Digital Marketing. He helps businesses thrive in the online real estate space with more search engine optimization. But this goes beyond just local and national. This is international SEO. And we're going to talk more about ads versus SEO, what LLMs can't do, and how AI is going to change the landscape of SEO. Ticiano, so great to meet you. How are you doing today? Thanks for coming on.
I'm doing great, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So today is day 2 of our podcast recording. We talked off air for an hour and even 30 minutes before we started today, just because we were having such a great conversation about the world and marketing and business and creativity, all those fun things. We always like to ask our entrepreneurs, tell us about your business journey. What were you doing before and how did that kind of lead you into what you're doing today?
Okay, now you surprised me. So before answering, it's part of the journey. When I was a kid, I kind of self-taught myself how to write at home. I started playing like with cutting newspapers and even encyclopedias. I love to do that and put words together. And that's what I did when I was like, I have the pictures 2, 3, even 4. Then I went to school. I kind of knew already how to speak and to write. I studied, and then my family had a textile company. I worked on that for a long time. And eventually I quit it doing that and started over. And I was kind of this SEO thing because it was a crossroad of marketing and IT. Marketing was what I used to do in textiles, like visiting clients, and it's more than sales, like promoting the business and showing possibilities and that kind of thing and representing the company. So I had that already, and IT was always a passion. I also taught myself how to code when I was 8 the first time with COBOL, which was not useful, but it was fun somehow. And then at different times, I coded a little bit. Now I'm keeping the promise, not starting with Python, which have been trending lately. So far, so good. And then I started doing SEO. I started like just for fun, indexing, ranking things. And then I started doing as a business. And I started the agency already 10 years ago. And since I always traveled quite a bit, and then, I have people I know everywhere, and word of mouth is always so important in services. And I started getting clients in different countries and places and niches and industries. And here we go. So that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years, following SEO daily with all the ups and downs.
That's a very exciting journey. I like that you were able to blend that unique experience skill set of the IT with more of the marketing side as well, because SEO can kind of be that fun blend of the creative aspect, but also very technical, because we really get into the metrics and the data and keyword trends and all of that. What should businesses be looking for who want to improve their SEO, their presence online? Do you have any recommendations for other people who kind of want to dip their toes into SEO to see that it actually works?
Just to understand your question, when looking for an SEO vendor or when they want to approach SEO somehow?
Yeah, I think first how they would approach SEO just themselves, if they're kind of a smaller operation, if they're a startup and they're on a budget here, just to start there. And then maybe you can go into what to look for in SEO vendors, because I'm sure there's quite a few in many different industries that make some promises that can't deliver, and you can just provide more realistic results for what that.
Correct. So I would say for any business that wants to start doing some SEO, the very first step is like creating content. You need to understand your audience, what they are looking for. And that depends on which business. You can be even a nonprofit. It's not that it needs to be business, but what kind of message of information your audience is looking for, and start crafting content around that, because that's essentially what SEO does. Like, it's optimizing for search results for those queries that people are looking for. So you need to understand, if you work with gardening tools, what people that gardening as a hobby, or even they are pros, what they are looking for: products, for techniques, for ideas, for pictures, for what start brainstorming and doing that and publish. That would be the very first step, I would say, and be unique as much as you can. I think we'll talk about that later when we touch AI. maybe. The second thing, when approaching an SEO vendor, there's so much here. I would say be aware of certainties and miracles. What do I mean by that? When we talk about SEO, up to now at least, it's search engines and Google is the main player. We don't know for the future, at least for the last 20 years, it has been. And after all, it's not a public domain. I mean, it's Google's game here. So we don't know the rules. We have some recommendations, we have best practices, the quality guidelines that they publish and they update quite often right now. They have people that speak with the SEO community regularly. They respond messages on social media or even emails sometimes, conventions where they are available to talk. And so we can have some hints, but we don't quite know. And we don't also know what our competitors are doing. When I say competitors, is anyone trying to rank for the same things as you. So it could be even not a business competitor, but they are looking for the same real estate on the SERPs as you. We don't know what they are doing fully and what they are going. And so we don't control that. And if any SEO agent tells you, you can be sure we are going to nail, we are going to get those positions for your web pages, you should really ask twice and try to understand how they do that, because no one can manage that. We do our best to promote our clients' content and website in general, but we can game the system and no one can. It's a bit like a lawyer. I mean, they can do their best. They do that every day, like we do SEO, but ultimately the decision is not on their hands. And that's a bit of the SEO. And some people, they promise. And there's another caveat here. In a moment, an historical moment where instant gratification is so desired and people have no patience anymore. And so an SEO, it's a long run game. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Also, bad SEO agencies or professionals, they promise like, hey, you don't need to worry, like we're going to get there at any time. It's not true. It's getting faster for sure, for different algorithms, for more computational power, for a better understanding of language. A lot of reasons is really getting faster from time to time, but still, you're not ranking tomorrow or next week, or especially for a new website. So you shouldn't trust anyone telling you that. And I think that's already a big filter to separate proper vendors from scammy ones.
Yes, absolutely. And I love the example that you use that you're basically the lawyer, and now Google in this situation would be the judge and the jury, because you just
Yeah.
don't know how they're going to rule that day, what deciding factors. Some days they'll test you at position 1, 2, or 3, and then suddenly you're on page 2 or 3. So it's kind of, you can do your best again with the content strategy, but you don't know how deep the competition goes with their SEO strategy, because again, it's not always about the quantity. Sometimes it's about the quality. Again, how was Google feeling today? So a lot of these external factors, and it's important in any service or product related business industry to be more honest and open about what you can or can't do and what the realistic results are. Because if you make too many promises that you can't deliver on, you're going to have some unhappy clients, and vice versa. If you can't
Correct.
have some certainty in your own ability, I don't think other businesses would trust you with such a large package into SEO. But again, SEO, as you described, it's a content strategy. This is how you kind of
Mhm.
lure in and nurture new leads that could turn into customers, and customers turn into reviews and referrals for you. So this is something that the content strategy is so important. Now, as we talked before, we do have ChatGPT, which can help with some content creation. Also, you mentioned before, what is this? The search GPT that is now going
Mhm.
to take over some search results. Can you go more into what AI's role is going to be with SEO and how you think it might change the landscape here, and maybe even things that we should think about or consider?
You just asked me the $1 billion question now. I don't know. I don't have a full answer for that. I have some thoughts and I can offer that. Search GPT started being rolled out last week for some plans, and shortly is coming to every plan, every user of ChatGPT. And if for our listener can remember 2 years ago when ChatGPT became available right after, because Microsoft is one of the biggest investors providing funds for OpenAI, which is the owner of ChatGPT. And they tried right away to boost Bing, which is their search engine, against Google. And they brought a lot of the ChatGPT things into Bing. And for a certain time, I think for a month, it was just for certain users, and all SEO community was, oh, can you get access to that? Because we need to try the next thing to change everything, which is essentially, it could be compared. It didn't turn out anything actually afterwards. It didn't move the needle, but it turned out to be what we now call, at least when we talk about Google, the AI overviews, especially in the US, is being rolled out for so many SERPs, where we don't have the classical 10 blue links anymore. We have these cards, boxes, different elements. We can play with that. And as we click, it's getting more refined and more suggestions. So it's a different experience. That was the first attempt. And now to get you more specifically to your question, with Search, when they started, ChatGPT was, they said, that's a database from some years ago, and it's like frozen in time. And then they start tweaking. Now we're having at GPT-4 or something. Remember which series we are. And we notice also in the SEO community for the last 6 months, at least, I've been saying, oh, but it's interesting. This information wasn't available a while ago. Does it mean they are actually prompting the websites as you do the questions to check? And now we know with SearchGPT, they have the search thing, and they are doing that. And they're kind of refresh that old Bing thing inside ChatGPT now, which is Search. We still don't know how more effective this will be for the users. We are learning these days for sure. They can be insightful and provide different answers we couldn't search before. And also Google, they're playing their hand here, which AIO we just mentioned. It's all about AI here. How will that unfold? We don't know. We don't even know how OpenAI is picking the results for SearchGPT. We don't know. It's a black box. Like even Google, it is a black box, but we have a lot of experience, and even Google has the materials I just mentioned. So we have a pretty good idea on how things happen. But in ChatGPT case, we don't know. And then we have a new discipline inside SEO, which is the GEO, the generative AI engine optimization, which is trying to optimize our clients' websites for this new way of doing search. So that's a new moment for us and something new. We know little so far. And yeah, that's what AI right now is doing for SEO. And besides that, I would say they are iterating a lot more than ever. Like you just mentioned about the results. It's crazy. You are in P2, then you are in P10, P15, P3. They are iterating things. And even something that I think it's unanimous in SEO community. For a year now, Google really ruined the SERPs to a big extent. When you see like Reddit being the main alternative for most queries, like even 3-4 years old queries from threads, from Reddit, ranking higher than a specialized focused website, fresh content. It's ridiculous. So they are changing the game. I think they are testing like real time, because they don't have time to think too much now with a threat like SearchGPT. It could potentially disrupt Google business model, as Google did to Yahoo at the time. So I think they are trying to get running fast as they can to not be surprised. And now quality is something maybe not essential at this moment. That's how I see it. And that's AI as well.
Yeah, will definitely be interesting. And I found it fascinating with the purchase or the rights to display Reddit search results within their own search engine page, which is very interesting because now other search engines can't use it. For certain
Yeah.
instances, certain queries, I do prefer a Reddit forum where I can see real conversation happening from people. Other times, this is not a good answer to the question that I asked Google. So hopefully they can find a new way to kind of parse that data and deliver that to us. But it'll be interesting to see how Google plays this, because it seems like you said, they're just going too fast. They're almost more reactionary. They have to react quickly instead of trying to take baby steps. This is just how the technology race evolves as we try to keep up and stay on top of everything. But we
Yeah.
don't know where AI technology search results are going to be 3 months from now, 3 years from
Yeah.
now. It's so hard to tell, but it's up to us to kind of keep our ear to the ground and stay on top of the new trends and see what's changing. One thing that most business owners out there are kind of stuck in is a lot of the times they believe marketing is just ads, or they feel ads are always going to be a quicker, better result as opposed to SEO. And there's pros and cons to both. But what is your take on ads versus SEO? What should businesses be looking for? What should they focus on?
It's a very good question. Thanks for asking that. I would say every business should look at both and find balance with that. As you mentioned, they have pros and cons. And I think each business needs to think how they can get the best from each. And they can help each other actually, ads and SEO, if done properly. I think SEO oftentimes is neglected because this black box to most people, at least, that you don't quite understand how things unfold and this is so slow. We don't have time and so on. But the lead, you can get a way cheaper lead than you get in typically in sponsored keywords like in Google, for example. And even big companies, they do the mistake. They spend out, they put away a lot, they waste money just getting ads when they could maybe get better positions in SEO and save all that money. So this is the first reason. Typically, the lead costs way less with SEO. There's another thing which is not covering. Typically, when we do ads, we are just doing for keywords that have purchase intent or close to that. So like people looking to buy things or like prices, or really they know what they want. They're like at the bottom of the funnel or close to that. And SEO, we can explore the whole funnel. We can get that as well, but we can get even like when they start considering doing something like, "Oh, let's go to the garden again. I want to have a new garden here. What could be the best grass to get to put here, or the plants for where I live, the climate?" They want to get some tips. So that's a very exploratory content, could be a blog. You're getting that. So you're building your brand along your potential customer or your customer journey, and until he gets to the bottom of it. And with ads, you simply can't do that. You're just going for the kill, for the last step or close to that. With SEO, we can cover the whole journey, and we are building brands. And in many countries, like in US, we can even put our goodwill, the value your website has, you can put in your balance sheet because it's really an asset you have. With ads, if you stop paying, you have nothing. With Google, you can just keep expanding it, and most of all, you're doing that on your real estate, which is your website, is not anyone else platform, which can define to a certain extent, but your website, nobody can take it away from you. So I think the biggest differences between those, but we can go further into subtleties. And as I mentioned before, if properly done, they can help each other. SEO can inform, they can get benefit from advertisement, also maybe for certain keywords you're not ranking, or is not worth it producing content, or is just a country, you want a certain market, you want to do a quick thing, so short term, or you can test things on advertisement, for example, doing A/B tests, which is so good in advertisement. In SEO, you can do, but it's much harder and it takes more time. And you can just make more assertive that you get those clicks, which in SEO sometimes is not that straightforward. So they can help each other, and having both is a great idea. I recommend to everyone. But unfortunately, I think it's on us, this worldwide, still SEO. I mean, SEO has the lion's share of traffic, like it's anywhere between 60 and 70% of any niche. And even so, we are like on the corner of typically the marketing expenses in any company, because it's easier. And I think marketers doing just advertisement are more efficient than us. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with everything you said about ads being more of the top of funnel, or at least the purchase intent when they're in the middle of the funnel, more for the sales, and kind of gives you that instant boost. But again, once you stop paying, you're not going to show up anymore. And that's where the SEO
Yeah.
really plays a role. And it does cover the entire journey of the funnel. Like you mentioned, now you said, let's go back to the garden. Now you can do product comparisons, what grass seed or what plants work best in what area. But this is just ways for you to have a presence online, provide that value to others. It shows that you're passionate and you're knowledgeable in your industry or your profession. This can be a great resource for anyone who reached out on your website or is a current customer. It shows that you care. So now you are increasing the traffic and everything kind of builds up from there. But for me, I've only worked with more local SEO here in the US. What does it look like more at like a national level and international level? Do you work with clients who are going beyond just their local market and trying to reach every corner of the earth?
Yeah, we have a bit of all. We have some local businesses, but so we are going like more typical local SEO, but we have national in different countries and we have international ones and it's different for sure. For example, English speaking website, which is number one language of the world, of course. So let's say in the US is typically the main market for anything in the world. So we want to have a website and we have some cases they want to sell worldwide. So we have a website in English and we need to prepare content for American users. Actually, when we start digging, we see that an English one or even a Canadian, a neighbor, or if you go down under New Zealand or even Australia, even inside Australia, there are differences. They look differently at the same content. We are talking about just English speaking countries. It depends also how assertive you want to be. You can say for budget reasons or for the amount of work we can put out, we are just going US way and what happens is good. But if you really want to talk to these audiences and go towards more high-end services or products, you want to have a better experience, a better journey, more demanding, you need to speak their language. The way they speak English, the terms, the ways they explore things, there are nuances. Of course, someone in Utah would understand essentially the same as someone in Sydney, just to give an example. But in the granularity of their realities, the perception is different of things. And that could really impact if they are converting or not. And there's another aspect of it, which is very important. Also, search engines. When we say English, I think it's the number one language, and most of AI is developed in US, so American English. But if you exit that and go even to Spanish, which I would say is the second, by the number of the countries, the second language of the world, there are so many nuances. And the search engines, even Google, they can get things so well as they get in English. So you see similar terms that they are seen as the same sometimes or the opposite and different things. It's really hard, and we have to play that from every time to look in what's the understanding of search engine for this thing, for this keyword, for this query, for this kind of content, and split that. And also in our community, which we essentially speak in English everywhere. And of course, US is the main market, but when you exit that and you start seeing in different languages how things happen, it can be so different, even slower, like the developments of the LLMs, and now we are talking about AI. It comes later, much later. Like here in Italy, for example, AIO is still not a reality. Most of the queries I've been doing lately, I didn't see. I do because I do in other languages in other countries, but we didn't. So if you're doing maybe some international SEO and Italy is also involved, or could be another country, how do you manage that? So it gets more complex, but we can overcome all of that. It can be way more complex to manage. And I would say ultimately the keyword here, no pun intended, is communication. Is how you communicate, how you deliver your message to any audience you might have, how you craft that must be taken care of every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something overlooked in the SEO space is that communication piece, because a lot of the times we focus too much on just the ranking and we forget about communicating a message to get them to click first and then the entire copy that needs to resonate specifically with that audience. And you mentioned the nuances of just English speaking countries and the phrases and idioms that they may use in their language that just don't translate well to another English speaking country. But something important you said is just the audience and the communication, I think are going to be the two of the biggest factors as we kind of
Right.
develop SEO and try to keep people going through the buyer's journey, through the marketing funnel to get clients results. Another thing I wanted to mention is not only do you do SEO for like your own clients, but you also offer a white label service. So I imagine you offer white label SEO to other agencies who maybe they want to provide to their clients, but maybe they don't have the team or the resources available. So you offer that as well. Is that correct?
True. We have some couple of clients, we do that agencies also, and they don't have SEO or they are not specialized. And that happens very often, by the way, Chris, because we can be good at everything. And especially bigger agencies, there will be exceptions to what I'm saying, but most of them, they kind of specialize enough in SEO and we can perform better in that. And even maybe at lower costs because we just do that. So we do white label services like the full reporting and talking even to the client sometimes, providing materials and all the interactions that are needed in the project. So for the final client, they are receiving the service for agents A, but actually it's us. We are doing that and it's seamless. It's something we do. We can craft pretty well. And it's all about understanding what's needed for the final client and how the agency wants to us to behave. So to say, which kind of the way we approach things, and we need to equalize that. And once it's done, it works pretty well.
That's very nice, because I imagine a lot of other marketing agencies may prefer to be the communication piece. They want to be the middleman. So maybe they just want you to send the reports and do the work on the back end, but they want their account representative to be there to kind of handle the customer questions and interactions,
Mhm.
or you jump in and kind of handle that as well. So that's fantastic. For those who are interested in getting in touch with you and finding out more about your SEO services, whether through your brand or as a white label, where can they find more about you online and get connected with you?
They can come to our website, which is sgarbi.eu, sgarbi.eu, and you can just text us from there. We will reply right away. We also have a newsletter that we are doing monthly for every 40, 45 days, which very short, condensed with important things about SEO, and we can get from there. Also, something I wanted to mention about the white label is that oftentimes some agencies, they don't offer SEO services, but they have already, they do websites, for example. They have all the clients on their databases. That could be an upsell opportunity also to promote those websites that were well done, but they are not performing well because no SEO was done. So it's a lot of opportunity also for those agencies to deploy those services, and they have no cost essentially. So it's almost risk-free for them. We also do that. And as you mentioned, sometimes they want to have all the interactions with the client. We just do on the background. That's also fine. So come to our website and we can get to talk about that.
Nice. I love that. And we'll have links available down in the show notes and the description so you can get connected directly with Ticiano here. Now, we always like to ask a lot of our guests here. You've been in business for a while, you've reached a level of success. What was the most impactful marketing strategy that you used for yourself? Because you mentioned a lot of word of mouth and referrals. How did you kind of get that going and start building relationships?
I think you answered. It's word of mouth and how you do that because it works a lot for any business, especially I think for services because it's something not tangible, like it's not getting a car or a shoe that you can touch, you can feel, you can smell. Services, I mean, I can promise I will do that very well. I can have a track record that I can show you, but until I do it really and you see the results, it's just a promise. And being a SEO agency, we are in the marketing field, and marketers are very good talkers. They can do fancy, fluffy things around. And for any regular company, it can be really tricky to understand what works and what's not. So the word of mouth penetrates, goes through that. And so that's the difference. So as I mentioned before, it's also my background, my journey. I always did marketing somehow. So it's getting to talk to people who showing, spotting opportunities for us, but also for them, what they could do and leveraging that. And a satisfied client will always bring more to you, essentially. And I would say, even on a website, we don't at this point refresh that much because it's just like, what kind of, we are doing SEO for who? In this case. It's just for other SEOs to look at us and for a vanity things, oh, they are so cool or what?
Right.
Because clients are not, most of clients, there are exceptions for anything we can talk about, but they are not looking into that. So we are all focused on the word of mouth and we are doing it internationally. So it's really, that counts. I can travel to every country every day, but when they trust what you're doing and they start seeing the results, they will tell their neighbor in Ireland or in Thailand and say, they did a great job. Why don't you talk to them? And of course, we'll do our best to serve them well as well. And there you go. That's, I would say the biggest challenge is to get that mechanism, like enough entity that allows you to work properly. But after that, it gets pretty easy to move on.
I love that. And I think it's a testament to the service and the product that you deliver as the end result to a lot of the clients. They obviously love the work that you do. They start referring you to more people. And now you have this self-sustaining business model. Like you said, it gets easier over time now that the relationships have been built and
Yeah.
super fantastic. Ticiano, we appreciate you coming on to our podcast and sharing this knowledge and insight with us. Congratulations on all your success. So excited to see everything that you do in the future. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Thanks for the opportunity and see you soon.
Same here. Thank you so much.